In today's video, I want to share my thoughts on the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil and how they work within my design process. I've had a lot of questions about using this device because you've seen me using it in vlogs and people are wondering if they should get one themselves, how it's useful for design, etc. So hopefully I can shed some light on that and we can have a chat about some nerdy hardware stuff today. Quick note before we get into it, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. They are my favorite all-in-one platform for building whatever type of website you think you might need. So thank you, Squarespace, and let's get into the review. First off, the reason I bought this iPad was mostly because I wanted to be able to do lettering in it. I wanted to be able to use the app called Procreate. It's essentially a drawing app where you can have a bunch of different brushes. It's got some great controls and it's been mentioned by a lot of hand lettering artists as an app that's really useful to use and quite like true to life when you're using the Apple Pencil in it. I've been interested in hand lettering for quite a long time, but I've never been that good at it. I'm still not that good at it, I would say, but what is good is that I enjoy it much more now doing it on the iPad. I feel like I have more control and that it's easier to fine-tune the lettering and clean up little mistakes without having to redraw the whole thing. I think because of that enjoyment factor, just simply I love using Procreate and I love drawing in it. I've been looking for excuses to bring hand-drawn elements into the rest of my design work because obviously I'm not a hand lettering artist as a job, I am mainly a web designer and you wouldn't think those two things would fit together, but I have found ways to make them work. For example, the imagery that we've been doing lately on the ConvertKit blog this year, it's a new style of imagery that I created and it was inspired mostly because I had the iPad and knew that I could easily draw on top of images. We needed an imagery style that was going to be easy to create and yet stand apart from other tech company blogs, and I'm really proud of this style, and a lot of the reason why we were able to do it and have these special looking images is because of the iPad. It made it really easy for me to quickly create them and get them out the door. I think the web can easily get really boxy and perfect, and I think we're seeing a shift away from that lately. People are appreciating more organic shapes in web design, and they're not as easy to create on the computer because if you draw a line in Illustrator, for example, it's automatically going to try and smooth itself out and try and make it perfect. And obviously as a web designer too, I'm always wanting to align things to the pixel grid and get them looking pixel perfect. But at the same time, it's lovely to bring a more human, organic element into things. I've been really enjoying trying to add some hand-drawn touches to our website wherever possible. Things like these little envelope dividers, I've drawn some plants on our pricing page, some little sparks on this page here. This is still a work in progress for sure. I'm still looking for new ways to bring some hand-drawn stuff to the website, but it's fun to explore that and the iPad has definitely enabled me to do it. So as you can probably tell, Procreate is the app that I use the most on this iPad. I'm also using it to design the font that I'm going to be selling. I use it for my video thumbnails. I just really like it as an app. And I think I will do a more in-depth video focusing just on Procreate later on, but for now I do just want to give my overall thoughts on this device. So let's move on to some other things. Another one is concepts. I use this for wireframing because it's got an infinite canvas, unlike Procreate where you have to set a canvas size. I really like wireframing on paper. That's definitely still my favorite way to wireframe a website. I like getting A3 paper and a Sharpie and just going mad like that, but it's really handy to be able to wireframe on the iPad as well when I'm in a cafe, for example, and I can't really spread out all these pieces of paper all over the place. It's nice to have a place that I can still draw and get my ideas out because I do think it's a good start to the web design process. Then most recently I've tried an app called Astro Pad, which essentially turns your iPad into a graphics tablet so that you can be using your Apple Pencil like on the iPad to control what's on your screen on the computer. I just bought the standard Astro Pad, which I think is $29.99 or something from the App Store, and you download a accompanying app on your Mac, and then you can see whatever is on your computer screen on the iPad, which is pretty amazing, and work with it with the Apple Pencil. It's been awesome to use in Illustrator, especially when I'm be working on my font. You just use the pencil tool to refine vectors, which is amazing. You could use it to draw in Photoshop. You can even use it to like arrange things in Sketch if you wanted to. I was just trying things out. So overall, I do tend to use my iPad for drawing. Whenever I'm using it, I am pretty much using the Apple Pencil with it. But some of the other apps I like having on here are Envision, so I can check up on my prototypes and the comments on them. I've got all of my work apps on here for communication like Slack and Basecamp and Zoom, so I can essentially have meetings from this if I need to. I generally do my writing on my 12-inch MacBook, but if I do need to write on the iPad, then I love the app IA Writer. It's super nice and clean and it uses Markdown. I don't know, I've got Google Drive, to-do list apps, whatever, but honestly, the main thing I do use this for is drawing and the sort of thing that I can't do on my computer. I'm not the kind of person who would use the iPad as my main device, because I do still work in Sketch daily as my main software that I use, and I do still code. And while I think there are apps for coding on the iPad, I don't think it'd be ideal for me. I like my setup that I have on the computer, but I don't know, perhaps that's something I could look into in the future. I think iOS works really well on the iPad. As you can see now, they have this dock functionality, which you can put apps in, or it just shows the most recent ones that you've used down there. You can do multitasking with it. They've done a lot with this operating system to make the iPad super powerful, and I can see how some people use this as their full-time device. Now, in terms of hardware, I bought the small iPad Pro. I can't remember what size it is, 12 something, 10 point something. Whatever, it was the smaller one of the two sizes that they have. I wanted the small one for portability mostly. It's nice and small, it's not overly heavy, it can fit in my backpack, and I can take it along with my 12-inch MacBook along to a cafe or whatever without too much added hassle. I also didn't get the smart keyboard cover. I had a lot of people asking about that. I just have the regular smart cover, and that's because I don't really intend to do much writing on this. I've got the MacBook for that I would have with me anyway for doing design work. I would love if the iPad didn't have a camera, to be honest, because it feels weird to have this bump in something that you're gonna be putting flat on the table to draw with. I guess the iPad is used by different people for different reasons, but I feel like on the iPad Pro, perhaps, people are not gonna be really using that to like take a picture of their family on holiday. You know, you just get the regular version of the iPad if that's what you want to do. Oh, that's another thing though. The cover is great because you can fold it like this and set it on the desk, and then you've got your screen slightly tilted for drawing on. I love the Apple Pencil. I think it's great. It is expensive, but I think it works well as a stylus. It can feel a little strange to draw on the glass. I've heard that putting a matte screen protector on your iPad can really help it feel more like you're drawing with an actual pencil on paper, but I don't really mind it, to be honest. I've gotten used to it because this is the main way that I work now. You do have to be careful not to lose the cap, because the way this charges is pretty hilarious. You like stick it in to the bottom of the iPad and it goes like that. But yeah, this kind of has a nice weight to it in your hand, and it's a good size. It's nice and smooth, so there's no like ridges that are gonna cut into your finger or anything like that. The battery life lasts quite well on it as well. Because I never use this constantly, I've never used it straight from like full to empty like I have with my phone. Like that needs to charge every day. I feel like I only charge my iPad about once a week. Actually, I will confess that probably the second biggest thing I use my iPad for if I'm not drawing with it is watching Netflix. It's a great little Netflix screen. But anyway, the multitasking is kind of cool too, because sometimes I can have Netflix down in the corner while I am drawing something in Procreate. That's pretty fun. So overall, I love having this iPad as a part of my design toolkit. I think it really helps me to add a more organic feel to my designs, and it's really helpful for being able to draw on the go, do wireframes without needing to use up a bunch of paper. I use it as a supplement to my design process rather than for the whole thing. If you're a designer who wants to get better at hand lettering or get into it in general, then I think this would be a really great device for you. I've found it amazing for that. It makes me feel more confident drawing, so that's what makes it worth it for me. So that's my overall review of the iPad. If you've got any questions about it, leave them down below in the comments. But now I want to show you some hand lettering in action while I tell you about Squarespace. So, like I said, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for creating websites, which means that you never have to install or patch or upgrade anything. It all just happens for you behind the scenes there. You can have complete control over the design of your website on Squarespace, which is obviously really important for me. They have beautiful templates you can start with, but then you can completely customize them as well, which is a lot of fun. And all of the templates come pre-built to be responsive, which means that they're going to look great on your computer, on your phone, or even on your iPad. I think Squarespace is especially great as a portfolio tool because it's really easy to get set up, nice and fast, so there's no excuses for not having your portfolio done. It's easy to add to it over time, and they make it easy to get set up with a custom domain as well, which is just going to make your site look more professional. Obviously though, you can use it for whatever type of website you want to make, and they've got 24/7 support, so they'll always be there to help you out. If you want to head to squarespace.com, you can get a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/CharlieMarieTV and you get 10% off your first website or domain. I hope you enjoyed seeing those pieces of lettering in action. Like I said, I think I'm going to do a full video about Procreate and how I use it, so I can give you some more background on that there. But thank you for watching this video. Hope it was useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Thumbs up. If you've got an iPad Pro of your own, I would love to hear about how it fits in with your workflow and what your favorite apps are, so how about you share them down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!